Today's episode is brought to you by Organifi. Organifi is an organic superfood supplement line that makes quality, trusted nutrition convenient and accessible. Their most popular product, green juice, solves the problem of juicing greens on the go. Just add water, drink, and let your body soak up the benefits. Visit Organifi.com, that's Organifi.com, to learn more about an exciting offer for you, our podcast listeners. Today's show is also brought to you by Health IQ. Health IQ is an insurance agency that does things just a bit differently. They help health-conscious people like runners, cyclists, weightlifters, vegans, and vegetarians get lower rates on their life insurance. To see if you qualify, get your free quote today at healthiq.com/success, or mention the promo code SUCCESS when you talk to a Health IQ agent. And now let's jump into today's show.
I wake up every single day. I am who I say I am. And I get what I get because I live in beast mode. Stop being gazelles. You're not average. You're not even good. You were born to be great.
What's going on, world? Welcome to another edition of the Secret to Success podcast. I'm your host, CJ, joined as always by the Bayesian sensation, who's not very Bayesian right now. Mr. Carl Wesley Phillips.
And another one. We back,
No
y'all.
question.
Still, I'm gonna find a way to
day.
make it the best day still, y'all.
best
But we
day.
here.
I'm
That's
too hard. Eric, Thurgood Douglas, Thomas the Ninth. Man, excuse my co-hosts, guys, if they sound a little down. I called them for the podcast, and I'm like, yo, what's up? Y'all ready to roll? And both of them were like, yeah, no doubt. And I wasn't quite sure what was going on, so I went and checked the forecast up there in the good old mitten. And turns out you guys are having a bit of a gray day, I understand.
50 Shades of Gray. 50 Shades of Gray.
That's the one
With
way of
white.
putting it.
With some white.
50 shit, all 50
Ain't nothing
of them.
sexy about this 50 shades stuff. Yep, nothing sexy. Wow, so it's that bad, huh? Carl, I seen the picture you
man.
sent. Looked like you was driving 2 miles an hour.
Oh, yeah.
I know that's right.
2
Bro, it's
miles an
April.
hour, so
It's
everybody
April.
sees you.
I mean, man. You
we
know
snowed
he
out.
ain't been there in about 10 years.
I
so
thought if
know
I
you
came back to April, though, I'd at least have showers. I didn't even get April showers. I'm getting April snow.
No, that's a myth, bro. That's like if you live in Atlanta or something. I don't know what they got up there. But hey, man, I'm just gonna pray for you. I'm not even gonna tease y'all, man, because I know it's got to be tough. And I'm not even gonna tell y'all we've been in like the 70s, 80s the last few days. So it is what it is. But man, let's can we do the podcast anyway? The people still want a podcast.
Oh, we got to.
So hopefully we can
got
still
to.
deliver. If I have to carry them, it'll be no surprise to you guys anyway. But yeah, let's roll. Hey, am I tripping, or do kids just ask tough questions? So Trey is at that age now where he just has a lot of tough questions that I don't know the answer to. And so this week in particular, he's just been going in. Like his brain is just everywhere. Like he's at that, he's 4. So now he's like not a baby, but he's not old enough to really know what's going on all the time. So it's like this gray period where, he's not quite sure what's real, what's not real, what's happening. So I'm sitting here today and I was like, yo, let me just write down some of these questions he asked me this week and get the guy's answer on it and see if we can't, you guys can't help me. I guess, Carl, you have a son who's a little older than Trey, but I'm sure you've gotten some of these questions. So let's just go through some of them. I want to see how y'all would answer the question. So, and just see if y'all answered the same way as I did, all right? So, first question is for both of y'all for $500. Where does water come from?
I'm going to start with the sky. Let's just
let's
start
go
there and
with
see
the
where it
sky.
goes. The
Yeah.
sky.
Oh, okay, so I said rain. I mean, I'm assuming at some point it rained, the ocean, I'm not sure. What makes thunder?
So yeah, I remember this one with Jordan, the clouds hitting together, but unfortunately he been in the plane and he like, the clouds don't look like they'll make noise. So that got me in problems.
E?
I'm saying angels that are crying or fussing.
That would
Fighting.
be rain, maybe.
You know what I'm saying? He said make up something.
Angels
Carl already
fighting?
gave the number one answer, so I got to make up something. Didi, they here.
Okay. Why do I have two eyes if I can only see one thing?
Well, probably you could just tell them angles, though. I'm sure if you just had one eye, you probably wouldn't be able to see.
That might be the number one answer. Good. I definitely didn't go with that. Okay, here goes an easy one that got progressively harder. Where do you go when you die? What's the common sense answer to say to a 4-year-old?
The earth isn't good enough. The earth isn't good enough. You know, I say you're going to ask.
No. I said heaven. And then he said, does everybody go there?
See, that's why I wouldn't say heaven.
And that's
Right,
why
I
I
could
said-
get you in trouble.
Right. But I'm saying you want to keep it as PG as possible, man.
Right.
So I said heaven. And he said, does everybody go there? I was like, not everybody. He was like, where does everybody else go? Like, not heaven. Okay. So a couple more here. How big is the world?
How
Real
big?
big.
How
Yeah,
big
real
is the
big.
world?
Oh, yeah, that's a science question. I'm definitely
Oh, that's
not.
what I said, real big. He said, but how
Real
big,
big.
Dad? How big?
Just tell him it'll take. What's the book? It'll take you. What's the around the world in 80 days? Tell him it'll take 80 days to go all the way around it.
Okay. All right. Well, those were the questions, but I'm going somewhere. It led us to another question, and this isn't really what I wanted to talk about today, but man, we were somewhere, and there was I don't even know if the correct term is panhandler. I think that's kind of old, right? Like, what do you call it now? No, not a hustler. Somebody on the street asking for money, that's not a hustler. Like with a sign or something. Yeah.
I know that's a term for it. I know what you're
No,
saying.
I'm
see.
saying it used to be panhandler. I just don't know if that's politically correct, so I didn't want to offend
Right.
nobody. But let's say, let's just describe it. So somebody on the side of the road asking for money,
Beggar,
right?
yeah.
So,
And I don't like to use the word beggar because that's kind of,
so you take my panhandler and double down and go worse.
I'm just saying I've heard people
Broke
say.
beggar.
Yeah, I've heard like, I've been in the car with people and I heard my man begging. So like I said, it's not a
Okay.
term I would use
Yeah,
because
I
it's
got
kind of
you.
derogatory,
Yeah.
but you're asking for help.
So this was Trey and I. We went to go grab something to eat, just a little boys' time, and we pulled up on the side of the road, and there was a gentleman out there who had a sign said, "I need money," whatever. I happened to have like a couple. I never have any cash. I always feel terrible. I'm like, this got to be a much harder to do in the 2018 than it was in like the 90s when everybody had cash. But I happened to have a couple of dollars just sitting in the glove compartment, so I just grabbed it, handed it to my man, and he said thank you and God bless, and he walked away, and Trey was like, "Yo, Dad, why'd you just give him money?" And I said, because I think he's in need, son. And so he's like, okay, but Trey, he don't let nothing go. Like he want the full. Like we literally had probably a 30-minute conversation. So he was like, but why did you give him money? Why doesn't he have money? Because I've been teaching him that you got to go to work to make money, right? You got to actually work to make money. So he's like, cool. So he's like, well, why doesn't he just work? And I'm like, I think maybe he tried to work and he couldn't find work. So we're going down. That's why I asked y'all these questions, because we're going down this rabbit hole now. And I told him, and so now I'm trying to teach a 4-year-old about, his social responsibility. And so we're having this conversation. I tell him, I'm like, Mommy and Daddy have been very blessed. God has blessed us with a lot. And so we have to give back, and we have to do, this, and we have to do that. And so he's like, oh, okay, I got it. And he's like, well, Daddy, why didn't God bless him? And I'm like, Go to sleep. You know what I'm saying?
Tell him he did, and he didn't take advantage of the blessings.
Yeah, I don't know. And so that right. So I'm sitting here and I'm like, he's like, well, and I said, he said, well, why did God bless us? I said, he loves us very much. He said, well, God doesn't love him. And so now I'm like, so I'm like, now I'm trying to explain it, and I'm like, okay, so I try to like break it down to his level, and I'm like, yo, you have parents who, have been blessed and they have jobs. Some people haven't been as fortunate. And so, even their kids are not as fortunate. So there may be a little boy who doesn't have any toys. And so he's like, he doesn't have any toys. And I'm like, no. I was like, so matter of fact, when we get home, right now I'm like, we about to have a whole hookup. I'm about to drive home, make him pick out some toys, and we're going straight to Goodwill to give them away. So we're on the way home, and now Trey's having a panic attack. He's like, hold up, how did we get here? And so I'm like, yo, you got to pick out some toys when we get home, and we're going to take them to, a place where they can give them to a little boy who doesn't have any toys. So then Trey's freaking out, but then he goes, oh, okay, Daddy. Well, I can give him this one dragon because it's broke and I don't ever play with it. And I can give away this thing because I don't ever, use this thing. And I don't ever have to, this is a little baby toy, so I can give him this. And so now I'm having a conversation about not giving away your bad stuff, but giving away the stuff you actually like. So I might have took it too far and told him he had to give away his new toy. And he about lost it.
Oh, no question.
And so I was like, okay, that's a little much. I was like, okay, that's a little much. Maybe not. We're not ready for that yet. But we came home and we cleaned up these toys. The ones he said he, didn't want or he didn't use anymore. And I tried to explain to him that this little boy still wanted to have fun with the toys. So we took the toys up to Goodwill, and that was kind of it. And he talked to his mom a little bit about it later that night. But I was sitting there and I was like, man, I just wanted to bring it to the podcast. And like I said, we don't have to talk about this the whole time. There was actually something else I had in mind, but I just wanted to know, one, how you guys would have handled that conversation. And E, if you ever had to have those conversations with your kids. And then Carl, if you've crossed that bridge yet with your kids. So.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about almost identical. See, the only thing that I did different was I usually go, so I had an experience with a guy that I met. We were in Philly, and I met this guy. So the only twist to the explanation that I gave Jordan was sometimes unfortunate things happen to people. Because the dude that I met, I just remember his story. Like, his mom got sick. My man was regular dude working. I think he had it was post office or something. He did something. It was a regular job. And his mom got sick, whatever, he ended up having to hospital. They didn't have good insurance, whatever. My man he lost his house literally paying for his mom. His mom ended up dying. Now he was literally just out on the streets. We talked for about 30 minutes that night out there. So my explanation to Jordan is different, in terms of, that's the only piece that I say is different. See, sometimes things happen in life. We can't always control. God still loves us, but there's just things that happen, and sometimes it's a little too much for us to handle. So our situation changes. Now, again, he can't understand all of this, see, but same process. I literally had them, over the Christmas break, we did it. We talked about it, and I had them get some gifts. And let's just take him to some other kid. Didi bought him a train, E, and so this one worked out real well for me, see, so I didn't have to go all the way, give me your best. But he had the exact same train already. I was like, oh, somebody just bought you that one. What you think we should do with this one? And he was like, oh, I don't know. I got, his thing was, I got two.
Right, exactly.
I was like, yeah, not quite. You got one already. You don't think there's some other kid out there that doesn't have one could use it? And, I kind of coached him into it. Again, not willing, but he was kind of like, yeah, I guess. And then he kind of settled in the middle. He's like, yo, I'm going to give it to Mason, our next door neighbor. He's like, I'm going to make sure Mason get one. I was like, all right, that's a win. I'm going to take at least you thinking about somebody else. But, yeah, no, it's just real, man.
Yeah, it's tough to have the conversation, and obviously, all of us grew up in different circumstances, but I don't think any of us grew up in extreme poverty, right. Obviously. And so, you try to teach your kids, and I'm like, I don't even know, when I remembered it, and Trey has an extremely high EQ for a 4-year-old. Obviously, he's asking all these questions he wants to know, but E, when did you try to start teaching your kids this? Maybe I'm jumping the gun. Maybe it's just too early. He just learned to share, for a second, you know what I'm saying? A year ago, you know what I'm saying? Where he could be like, all right, cool, you can play with the toy 2 seconds, give it back. But E, I guess for you, being the veteran of the group, how would you handle these conversations, and how did you?
Yeah, it's crazy just even thinking about it, but because I never really had the conversation, but I was asking myself, why didn't I have it? And it was probably because, Jalen and Jada were born in Huntsville when we were probably in the middle of, the GED. We were going to the hospital every weekend. We were going to prisons regularly. I mean, we were doing the kitchen soup. Our church was doing a lot. Our young people were doing a lot, and so our kids was really in the midst of people who were, disadvantaged on a regular basis. That was a part of our, ministry. Your mom Didi did the home health nursing. We babysat a lot for kids, people who had, teenagers who had kids. So our house was pretty much, college, high school students were in and out. Some high school students had parents, some didn't. So I was constantly feeding kids. So I think Jalen and Jada kind of, grew up in that, in that world, if you will. You know what I'm saying? I don't think it was until they got to Michigan, and then we started doing work at the university. But still, as a church, we were doing, different little things. So I don't think I had that conversation with them because they were like in the midst of it. And when you talk about panhandling or whatever, a lot of those people were, those disadvantaged people were with us. Like they were a part of our summer programs. And remember, we would go to like a city for a whole 4 weeks doing a tent revival. And so a lot of those individuals would be with us during the day and we would be feeding those people, during the day. And Jalen had to give away clothes, during that time frame. So I think it's a little different in that they weren't, it wasn't isolated for them. It was something that they were a part of. And then when their grandmother, that's how their grandmother is. Right now.
Yeah, she stayed like that to this day.
Yeah, so they grew up at her house, like being around those kids, playing with those kids. So not even really knowing there was a difference because they eating like the other kids eating. They dressing like, whatever that means dressing, because their mom would buy a lot of clothes and keep it in the house for disadvantaged people. You know what I'm saying? So it was a little different for them because they were actively in that community, you know what I'm saying, on a regular basis. And I don't know why they never really complained about it or saw the difference between them and the others. Now they do now. Jalen will say stuff now. Of course, it's not questions, but he'll definitely be like, man, grandma's still on that. She's still bringing 6, 7 kids to church, snotty nose, whatever. And it was so funny. We were in Orlando, and that's probably one of the ways Didi got sick. But there were like, man, 3 or 4 little 4-year-olds, 3-year-olds that wanted to be with Didi. Their mama's like, oh, can you babysit? Can you adopt them? And Didi's walking through the parent night. She can't even do like the hula hoop and the what is it what is it called, the double dutching, because she babysitting. So I'm laughing because I'm like, yo, you so much like your mom, even though you don't want to be. You so much like your mom. So like I said, I just think for my kids, they were so much a part of that enter to learn, depart to serve type community that it is not something that they saw like, on a monthly basis, but it was something that they, kind of experienced daily.
Yeah, no, and I'm, as you go forward, and I know Jalen and Jada now are, well-rounded and stuff like that, but you're right, and my kids, I guess, don't really have that experience. Like, they're around y'all,
that's
they're
real.
around my grandparents, and
Yeah.
they've never really been exposed to, that particular life, and I'm like,
right.
I don't really know, like, because I thought about that. You said going to the soup kitchen, like I thought about that, but I'm like, man, it might be too soon for that. You know what I mean? It's like I don't want to stress him out, like Trey especially. He gets stressed out, like, whoa, what's going on? And so I'm trying to figure out that right age, but it just, I guess it's part of being a parent, man, and just trying to figure that out. And I know it'll come and I know it'll, be there, but, obviously, we have been blessed and we do well. And I'm like, all right, but you need to know, even like even relatively speaking, like, I'm like, you got it, and trust me, my parents did a lot and we were straight. Like, we were middle class as it comes, but like, I've never been on an airplane. I've been on an airplane one time before I met E, right? And I met E when I was 22. I've been on an airplane one time, so Trey got like a frequent flyer number. He got his own suitcase. He show up at the airport, you know what I'm saying? Like, he know what's going on. I'm like, bro, probably been on 150 flights and he 4, you know what I'm saying? And so I'm like, whoa, you live even a different life. You were staying at the Fountain Blue in Miami, and I'm like, even relatively speaking, you're above where even I was. So I'm like, man, I got to work twice as hard to make sure now you understand. You know what I'm saying? Because you're not growing up, in a place where you're going to see that on a regular basis. And so I guess it's, I guess it is what it is. And I guess it's all relative too, right?
Yeah.
I was gonna say yesterday. So this, it's funny you brought this up. Yesterday, Tamisha actually had, I don't know what she was doing, but she was probably on Facebook or something. She came across this video. When y'all get a chance to look at it, so it's something from the Philippines, and she called me, Jordan, and Jesse, like, y'all come here, sit down, watch this. And literally, I'll just give y'all a brief synopsis of it. But it's a dude that literally makes a living by, he goes to a landfill, like garbage dump, grabs any scraps of food he can find and takes that back and sells it to people. Like he'll get, like, I'm just talking about, it looked like a 5-pound bag of, like, I'm talking about waste, like chicken bones, that kind of stuff, just scraps. He would sell that for like 50 cents. And they literally followed the process where people would now go back and buy this, take it home. My man literally washed the food, like in water, washed it, and then cooked that joint over and fed his family. And I'm just sitting there like, wow. So Jordan couldn't really watch it. See, like he was kind of like watching and kind of pulling back. Jesse kind of paid more attention, but she's young. She probably can't get it yet. But like I was just watching his reaction to it. It's like, yo, I don't even know if my man can really handle this thing, like you're just saying. But it's crazy to how do you balance that and let them, be aware that, like, yo, y'all do have it like super privileged right now. Like, how do you balance that?
And I think that's you, as y'all know, we talked about it before, but obviously, us looking for a house, and we actually found a school that we really liked that was, high in diversity, and it's a public school. And we talked about the private versus public thing. And like I said, trust me, I'm all for, private school, and if that's what works. When we went to the private school, I was looking like, man, it goes all the way up to, 12th grade. And I'm like, man, it was kids like pulling up in like Range Rovers and, Mercedes. And I'm like, dang, is this real life? You know what I'm saying? I'm looking at this like, whoa, like, I grew up in the Midwest. And so and nothing against people who choose to do that. I'm with it. I guess my question to you is, I know we had this discussion years ago on the podcast, but now it's actually getting real because Trey's close to kindergarten, and we have went and toured some private schools. We just so happened to find a public school that we fell in love with. That's a great school that's got great diversity. There's kids that are, lower income, medium, high, it's just a nice balance. And so we'd really like to find, a home in that particular area. But let's revisit that just for a quick second. If you were ET now that you were when the kids started kindergarten, what do you think you would have done?
Yeah, I think I'd do the same thing. I'm concerned about a few things. I'm concerned about you being able to still have relationships with your family, because I think that's important, and I don't care what social or economic status your family is. I think you still need to have and be able to relate to your cousins, to your aunts, to your uncles, to your grandparents. I don't think that you should have this. You should live in a world where like you're only concerned about like your friends. I think the world at large, you should be able to, like whatever community you're growing up in. If you're growing up in Atlanta, I think that you should be able to go to the schools in the inner city and be able to contribute. Like y'all know, I still take Jalen with me on trip. When I was just in Atlanta, he was in Atlanta. I'm like, yo, you need to speak to the kids. You need to speak to the teachers. Like I was doing a teacher training. I was like, yo, Book, what was your experience like with teachers? Like how do you feel about school? How did you feel about coming, K through 12, college, and, of course he had the answer, then of course, when we were doing the middle school, it's like, Boog, these kids are closer to your age, like certainly than they are my age. Talk to them. What mistakes did you make? What could you do differently? And just making sure that my children can contribute, to society as a whole. They're not so smart or they're not so privileged that they isolate themselves from the world that they live in. You know what I'm saying? I want you to be able to have a conversation about Republican, Democrat, Independent. And I'm not going to tell you what to be, but I want you to have a conversation, about tax reform, about gun control. Like I want you guys to be able to be social enough to contribute. So for me, see, I felt like, I did charter, I did public, I did, what do you call it? A more cultural competent curriculum at one point. I did what I thought would get them ready, a majority experience that would get them ready for Michigan State and for the world, because I didn't want my children to be, homogeneous in that they just deal with this group. I wanted them to be, diverse. So I think I'll do it the exact same way. And like you see, I stayed in a neighborhood. I could have lived anywhere, but I stayed and when I say anywhere, there are a couple more communities in our area that are more affluent that I could have lived there, and I just made the choice that I didn't want my children, like you said, the Range Rover, the whatever. I didn't want them, while I wanted them to experience the world, I never want my children looking down at people. I never want my children, feeling like.
There's another school of thought, and I'm playing devil's advocate against my own self because that's how we make good conversation on the podcast. There's another school of thought that would say, yo, why don't you give your kids the best, allow them to have the best education, allow them to have the best of the best, still teach them that, social responsibility. And then, who knows, if you dim their light in terms of what you expose them to, how is the family lineage going to grow? If you purposely suppress their learning, like what if I could send them to a private school and I can afford to send them to private school, and I purposely don't send them to a private school to get that, what I perceive to be a better social interaction, but, maybe Trey could have been, the president, and maybe, he's not because I, chose to go the other route. So what about that school of thought that would say dimming your light by not moving into that?
Yeah, and I think when people say that, they're just talking about one aspect of learning. And that is they might have the better curriculum and something. Yeah, right. You know what I'm saying? But not necessarily in terms of sports, in terms of a debate team, in terms of a diverse teacher population. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you might be right. Like, you might be like one of those teams that are dominant in points. And you do put up 110 points, but you don't play defense. Whereas you have that team that's a balanced team. Like you look at a Loyola, a lot of people didn't know who they were, but what made them good is that they were balanced in terms of scoring, and they were pretty good when it came to defense. Whereas you might have a team like when you look at Michigan and their last game, they're good in defense, not necessarily that good in offense, and it was so lopsided. So for me, I don't see that you have the best curriculum, meaning, you have like the best tools. You got the smart boards, you got the best books, you got the whatever. I don't know that that's the best. Some of those places have very high drug usage, and so while, you got the best academics, but at the same time, in terms of kids having access to drugs, kids having access to, certain other things, I don't know that I want my kids exposed to that. So I found what I thought was a well-balanced system, right, where it was a very academics was good, very good football program, good debate team. My little cousin who lived with me was in the choir. They had a real good musical program. So for me, I just felt like I wanted something that was balanced and that represented America as a whole, and not necessarily, just in this area you elite, but you may not necessarily be elite, in other areas. And I don't know that I did the best job in the world. I mean, it's what you said. See, you make assumptions. You test stuff out. And then you make it happen. And I'm not one of those guys that say, all my kids are great kids and they went to the best schools and I made all the great decisions. I don't know. The verdict is still out. But I do know that I feel comfortable with. Jalen did finish in 4 years. Jalen took a year to kind of find himself, and through Jalen do this, do that, through some of his friends from the NBA, some of their parents, I felt like, in a year's time, which to me is pretty quick when you graduate from college in 4 years. I think he's found that thing that he's like, yo, this is mine. You know, with the basketball camps, this is like phase one for him. And, you know, for the most part, bro, I'm being real. I'm not saying it, you know, y'all know me. Like, I'm not, and I don't think there's anything wrong with parents who make their kids the brightest, the smartest, the most attractive. I don't think there's nothing wrong with that. That's just not my swag. Like, I'm just not that kind of parent. I don't mind talking about what my kids do wrong. Like, I don't have a need for my kids to be angels because I wasn't one.
I can verify that fact.
Yeah, I'm saying. I'm just saying I wasn't
He ain't
one.
never been the one to be like, my kid is the star of the show.
Not at all.
No, that's just not my swag. But I'm saying I can be honest and say that 80% of this of what's getting done for this triple-double, as Jalen called it, triple-double academy, which is his brainchild for this critical thinking / leadership / basketball thing. 80% of it he's doing. So it's not like one of those things where I'm like, okay, let me do this for my son so he can look good. It's like, no, if this is what you want to do, cool. I'll use my resources to support you. But like 80% of the work, you know, he's pretty much done. And so I guess to some extent, I can say, okay, it looks like it's working. He's in a relationship. You know, he's not necessarily all over the place, you know, in terms of that, you know. So, yeah, I think that, you know, I hope we did a decent job.
Both of your kids are excellent kids. And, you know, I look at, man, you know, Josh, his kids are obviously a little older than Carl and I's kids. And, I mean, Huddy with, you know, the stuff he does,
no question.
you know, athletically and just the kind of kid he is. And Bear, he sent me a video of her, like she wrote like an art, like a story or so. It was just incredible. And just like, so not only smart kids, but just great kids in general. And I'm like, man, as a parent, like that's your biggest fear is to mess up like one of your kids. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so it's so much that goes into this. And Candace and I really been like researching and studying, even having like the next neighborhood we move in is not necessarily going to be as diverse as this neighborhood.
Right.
And so you looking like, okay, cool, you know, we moving into this neighborhood. What pressures come along with that? You know what I'm saying? And like, I know, you know, for anybody out there who, you know, doesn't know what I'm talking about, when you black and you move into a pretty much all white neighborhood or 90% white neighborhood, it's not that we feel any kind of way, but you do wonder if other people feel some kind of way. Is Trey going to be able to go to, you know, every kid's house and play and be fully accepted? Now, it's 2018. My prayer would be yes, but I'd be lying if I said in my subconscious somewhere, and I'm not trying to manifest anything wrong. I'm like, I would have to prepare myself for the conversation of, you know, he feels different, you know, or somebody made him feel different, or a comment was said. You know, I'll be real. My niece, right? And I hope my sister-in-law doesn't care about me saying this, but my niece, you know, already, you know, she got big, beautiful hair, right? Just big, beautiful hair. And she goes to, you know, a private daycare, and, you know, I don't know if somebody said something about her hair being kind of like big or, you know, texture or whatever. But she came home and was like, hey, I don't like my hair. you know what I'm saying? She's 4. She just turned 4 yesterday, you know? And I'm like, wow, like that kind of stuff is real. And so I think as a parent, and I'll be honest, I don't worry about Trey much. He's his father's son. Like he can blend into, you know, anywhere. And I mean, he's just such a lovable kid. And now Avery, I love her. Her mama love her, but she is, you know, she got a different little swag. And I'm like, man, so you know, for me, I'm like, and then she, you know, a female, obviously, I'm like, man, you know, is she gonna have, you know, relationship troubles? Is she gonna, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, wow, it's all this stuff that's hitting me that you never really think of as a parent. And Josh and I were talking about it the other day, and he was like, wow, he was like, yo, it's just crazy. Obviously, Josh is white. He like, that's just something we never even had to think about. You know what I mean? Like, trust me, as a parent, we all got things we think about, but the kind of stuff you're talking about, I never even thought about. And so, yeah, it's a different kind of transition in life, I guess, because, you know, they're starting to see, you know, like color, and they're starting to know what's up, and people, you know, other kids are starting to say things. And like I said, you really do hope that you can, you know, raise well-rounded kids. And this is stuff I didn't even have to deal with, you guys. Lansing, my hometown, as I probably said before, is the most mixed place in the world. Like literally, it was in a USA Today study. It's the black, white capital of the world. Like it's more mixed, people there than
anything,
anywhere in the world. And I'm like, so I didn't even have to deal with these kind of things, but I live in Georgia, and we're going to be moving to, we live in a great area now. I love my neighborhood now, and it's very diverse. It's probably 50-50 in terms of, whatever, or, all kind of nationality, all kind of races, whatever. The next neighborhood, where we're looking at houses, like I said, in this district is 90% white, and Trey, obviously, Trey and my mom is white. And so, I don't struggle with that at all. And, but, with my son and my daughter, I'm like, man, all right, cool, here we go. And it's something to think about, man. It's something to consider.
Yeah, but
man.
I think for your kids, I'm not saying it's going to be heaven by any stretch of the imagination, but I think what they'll be able to do, because they do have, their grandmother is white and they have white aunts and uncles and cousins. Mm-hmm. I think at least for them, they'll be able to say,
they got a crossover.
Yeah, they'll just be able to say like, yo, these people are evil. They won't have to say, all white people or whatever. They won't have to go down that path because like, yo, my grandma loves me. And my grandma don't, you know what I'm saying? So to some extent, they have that advantage in growing up in a very, diverse, family.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't worry about them at all. You know what I'm saying? They have no idea. Trey, I don't even think, I'm not going to say Trey don't see color, but like you said, because he's got white cousins, black cousins, white grandma, black grandma, you know what I mean? Like, he don't really know what's up. But I'm saying at some point, I'm sure, especially moving into a school, like even now, his school, y'all both been into his school. It's 50-50. So even going to a school where it may not be as diverse, you just kind of like, okay, this is the age where they start to form these social groups and stuff like that. And like I said, it's something, and like I said, I'm not like, I don't want to, like, if you out there listening, I'm not like sitting at home like we stressed out about it by no means. But I'm trying to let y'all in on the conversations that my wife and I have when deciding to move, when deciding on a new school, when deciding, these things, while living in, Georgia.
And I'm just saying, see, so we having the same conversation now, of course. Jordan about to start in September. Now, my wife and my mom pretty much took over, so I don't have a say, which I'm cool with.
Oh, no doubt. That's the best way to go.
Oh, I'm just like, hey, whatever y'all comfortable with. They both went up to the school that they're looking at.
That's the chameleon, girl. That's the chameleon.
The chameleon chill. What do you call it? Lansing Christian up here, which again it's Lansing, so you got a little bit of everything in there. But what the severity of the conversation is, and I think I need people to understand this is like, dude, like, do you understand that the school you put him in could impact him it will.
Oh yeah, no question.
Either which way, it will impact them for the rest of their life. Who they are, their confidence, their relationships. Like, there's some stuff that's formed now at this age. So when you say you're not stressed about it, not stressed, but yeah, it's real. Like, this is some stuff that's going to affect your kid's life for the rest of their life, the decision that you make which school to put them in. So you can't take it lightly. I'm going to share a random story. Walking through the neighborhood here, I think I told you this, E. Tell me how and the story's worse than it sounds. Let me preface it by saying that it's worse than it sounds. It wasn't what it sounded like. But tell me your gut reaction, see. So I'm walking through the neighborhood. I'm walking from my house to E's house. And when the kids looked over at me and says, "Hey, you monkey," what's your reaction?
Go to bed.
Dude, everything in my body, I turned. And when I tell you, again, just filters, I turned. And I started walking back to little man. And here, God himself solved it for me, see. Little man said something as I was approaching him, because I passed him. He could like, "Hey, you monkey," or something. Like, you could tell he was playful with it, but I'm like, yo, this is not funny. Like, I'm about to go say something, because my kids play with these other kids, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm about to go say something. Dude, he says, and don't laugh at me, but little man says, you just going to just eat the banana and not offer me none? So he was just being playful. You see what I'm saying? But again, just talking about filters. Now imagine something like that happens to Jordan. He comes back home and says, "Little man just called me a monkey," but you're not paying attention. I'm just saying, they're little things, but you just got to be aware of things that can happen.
Things. Yeah, my
that's
daughter.
It's your fault for walking down the street eating a banana in a white neighborhood.
My daughter has
Get your banana in the house.
Yeah, my daughter
black
was
folks not
called a
supposed to eat bananas in public.
Yeah, I'm just saying, my daughter was called a nigga in school, and we had to address it. My son,
I do remember that.
Yeah, like
I remember when your neighborhood got spray painted.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Did we talk about that on the podcast?
I don't know.
I don't think we did.
Yeah,
no? Did we?
I don't remember.
The whole neighborhood got spray like garages, like multiple in his in I guess your subdivision too, Carl.
Yeah.
Multiple garages and spray painted the N-word everywhere. Yep.
Yeah, so I'm saying I wasn't like in a like alarm, like kind of whatever. I'm like, we live in a country where, I'm saying it's real. I've been to Australia and I haven't had to deal with that. I've been to Canada. I don't have to deal with that, but it's an American reality, and so with my children, I don't go, this is a terrible country because a sector of them are on that, but just prepare my daughter for there's some people in this world that's just like whatever. So that's why I see.
Well, and what do you and Jada? I know. I mean, now she's just a rock star, as we saw on the cruise. She's just a beast. But at some point, and there were points I think when she was out there where I'm sure she kind of felt some way about the way she looked compared to everybody else because it wasn't a whole lot of diversity in her school. So how did you handle those conversations?
It was none. But again, I think what we have to do is we have to be very intentional and deliberate about, and this is just a piece of success. It's not about just raising kids, but you have to be very intentional and deliberate about your path, your goals, and you can't allow negativity to get you off of the course. So I have to teach my daughter that she's beautiful, period. There are going to be some young men who are immature, who may come in her life just, for one thing, and that can hurt her. And I've got to teach her to get through that. Like, you can't trip. They 19, 20, what I'm saying? They boys. You may not find a man until late 20s, early 30s. You know what I'm saying? But you can't let the fact that some dude came in your life.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Late 40s.
Yeah. You can't let the fact that some dude came in your life and then he dating you and 3 other people crush your spirits. And so my job as a father is, I got to keep you on track. You're beautiful. You're intelligent. You may pick your best friends now. You may not, but just really keeping her on focus. And I think keeping her around, the people that she can look up to, other women that she can look to outside of just her mom, and outside of just people on television, but people that she can look to and say, for her personality, I like that, and just being there for her. It's funny, we had, of course, the Success Series last night, and a part of the Success Series is that's our time. My daughter comes to every Success Series. Now, Jada doesn't necessarily come in and sit up front because she's not interested in that. This is my dad, and I want people to kind of know our relationship. She's like, not that. But you see her in the hall.
Only Jalen using that.
Yeah, right.
Look,
not coming though. But he's not coming though. He's using it, but he's not physically there.
Because I saw it last night. Like literally, me and E walked through the door, and Jada's like, see, you know the room, the Kiva.
Yeah, of course.
Over there where the little Spartan cafes, and they got like the little chairs on that side.
Yep.
Like she way over there on the chairs sitting. E walks in, and it was just a moment. Like they look. Yeah, did you go to her? E? I don't remember if you went to her.
I did.
I don't even think you went to her. Like they just waved at each other, and it was like I saw her face like light up, bro. Like she looked like I'm talking about. Like wow. What up?
Yeah, that's something
what I mean?
new.
It was like that moment.
I seen Jada not light up at E a bunch of times. It looked like she dimmed down when she seen him. So praise God, y'all got over that.
It was a moment. Yeah, no, it was a moment for her. I saw it, and I just kept walking, but I was like, oh wow, like it was a moment, and I didn't see her inside the room. I saw her at the beginning, and then I saw her, and she jumped in the car and got a ride home with us. But I saw like that was a moment. Like, and E, you kind of looked stuck for a minute, like you weren't sure if to go to her or not. Like I saw you kind of paused, awkward pause.
Because I'm for real, I'm a relational dude. Like that's who I am. But
Flamingo.
Yeah, at the same time.
He wanted to go flamingo.
Yeah, I'm like, you know what? She not. You know what I'm saying? So give her space. I don't live in Michigan State. I don't live in this dynamic, and my daughter is not the kind of person who wants to be known for her father. Now, my son say that, and to some extent
he's not
is.
He's not either.
Yeah, not like that.
Not like he could be. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely not how he could be, but he'll be a little bit more, whatever. You know what I'm saying? And so, for real, I have to be intentional and deliberate about them.
E.T. the hip-hop preacher's son on his bio.
Oh, so. No question. Yeah, no question that. So, I just think for every parent listening, like, I saw a, how you see these memes, and I don't know about you guys, but every blue moon I see one that I feel like, okay, this is like worthy of grabbing a picture of. You know what I'm saying? I didn't repost it. I probably will later. But there's a
Funny,
picture
I saw
of
one the other day that I never do that, and I saw one go somewhere, man, and I snapshotted one too. So maybe I'll read mine.
Yeah. So no, here's mine right here. It's a bird flying off, and then there's a nest with the little chickies in it, and then it's it's on a branch, and it says, "Life is a balance of holding on and letting go." And I think that's what we need to be intentional and deliberate about. Even parents, marriage, relationships, a business. For real, it is a balance of holding on and letting go. And that's what you have to do with your children. You hold on in the areas where it's like, okay, she's not liking school. She's people are making her feel funny about her ethnic background. So this time for dad to hold on strong. You know what I'm saying, and make you feel loved and make you feel important and share with you the uniqueness of who you are. Whatever, take you out to eat.
Let me
go get ice cream.
Hey, let me ask y'all this, because this is the difficulty that I've found just being 100% real. Do I raise my kids for now, or do I raise them for later?
Yeah, you have to make,
and what I mean by that is, I'm saying there's a level of attention that I'm giving you and all that you need now, but doggone it, when you get out in this world, like, you're not gonna get this. You see what I'm saying? So it's a balance. Like, I tease, like, and I could call their name, like Kaya. Kaya is I'm talking about, like, she ain't no joke. Yeah, Kaya will tell you exactly what's going on. And I look at her like, I admire that, because, like, why y'all tripping now? She gonna get in trouble. She gonna get her butt whooped now. Bruh, she gonna be running somebody company in 10, 15 years. Like, no questions about it. You know what I'm saying? So my question is, which do you raise for? Like, do I push my kids to be like, don't ask me no questions. Go out here and figure it out now? Or am I, like, what's that balance? Like, I'll be honest, I'm struggling with that.
I think it is a balance within the balance. You know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta know when to hold them, know when to fold them.
Yeah.
And like I said, far be it for me to act like an expert, right? My kids could grow up and be serial killers. I don't know. But for me, we've had this conversation before, but I even find myself now, like, I told you, Trey was doing this weird thing where he apologized for everything. Like, he was like he would, like, spill, like, a little bit of water on the floor and be like, "Oh, sorry, daddy. And I was like, whoa, am I that on his head that he feel like he gotta apologize for everything? Like, we were in the basement yesterday, and we've been working on his swing, like his baseball swing, right? Because I'm not letting him play football. So I'm like, let's get this baseball thing going. And so he's, like, getting good swinging the baseball, and he missed it, like, twice in a row. He's like, sorry, daddy. And I'm like, yo, all good, bro. We just down here playing. But I think you do find that balance between knowing, when to be hard on them, when to ease off, when to, whatever. Shout out to the young lady who came up to me. I can't remember if we were in Dallas or Charlotte. She was like, "Yeah, I heard you say you whooped Trey for something, and you should not whoop your." I was so mad at you. I was like, "Okay, I'm sorry," but and I'm not perfect, and I do try to find that balance. I think my, dad in particular, shout out to my mom, but my dad is, we had all boys, so we took our cue from our dad. My dad was very good at finding that balance between, when you wrong, you're getting corrected, I'm going to love on you, all of those things. But I think, allowing them to explore who they are and finding out what they are. And I think, like I said, I look at my kids and I'm like, I'm pretty sure, like you said it, your kids kind of became more who they were at that age. It's like, if you're around Trey for 5 minutes, you can pretty much guess what kind of kid he gonna be. You know what I mean? And Avery, like I said, we working on her. Little mama is tough as nails. I'm talking about, she is tough as nails. And I'm, like you said, Carl, I'm like, and me and her mom had a conversation, because she is like, man, she has an iron will. And Candace was like, I don't want to break that. At the same time, I can't allow her to just be straight defiant. But at the same, in the other breath, I don't want her to, like, lose that thing that might, like you said, be the thing that help her, be the president. So, it is a balance, Carl. But I think it's a balance within the balance, if you see what I'm saying. I don't think there's, like, one, like, all right, cool, I'm going to just let Jordan do whatever he want to do and just go. And I don't think I'm going to get on him for every little thing and try to push the mess out of him. I really do think it's a balance. And then so much of it, when you think of nature versus nurture, I look at, myself and, here we doing all of this talking. I went to Sexton, which is not the greatest school in the world, and Candace went to Pershing. And we here, you know what I'm saying? Like,
right, yeah.
Candace went through metal detectors every day in high school. You know what I mean? Like, so you talking about, coming out of that. Now, I understand that she's the exception and not the rule, but I do think it's a balance, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think it's really about, us preparing our our children as well as to prepare the kids who are listening on here. I've got a group of kids who come to the Success Series every week. And I'm like, wow, what a responsibility, and I know other middle school kids who listen with their parents, so.
I heard you snap last night too. I didn't have a chance to listen yet. Carl sent it to me last night, but I heard you went off.
Oh, good. That's good.
You
that's
back
good
off
content.
the injured reserve after the, you know what I'm saying? You're down.
That's
Well,
good.
I guess you said you wasn't down, but you were sick on the podcast last week, but you got real sick for a minute. You wasn't. He told you get that Organifi, quit playing with it.
I took it. I just took it too late, I guess.
But please pick back up where you left off because somebody gonna say I interrupted you.
Yeah, no. I'm just saying.
This nugget ever.
Yeah, I got the shorties, who listen.
Yeah.
And again, it's really about it's not going to be any perfection because you're not going to be in a perfect environment. But I think really preparing our babies to get to the point where, they can make decisions, and they're not going to always make the right decisions. But I think one of the challenges that I look at this generation of parenting, and I don't want to call it overthinking, but it's what you said, see, like, I don't know that your parents was doing all that thinking. I don't know that they had apps and they had, all of it, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, I want to get my kids prepared for the real world. I want to get you prepared for if you have to break up a few times. I want you to be prepared for that. I want you to, I saw somebody recently who shot themselves and their ex-girlfriend, because she broke up with them. You know what I'm saying? And it's real, bro. These kids, it's like folks shooting themselves, you know what I'm saying? Shooting other people.
I had a friend who, didn't hold your thought, but I had a friend who we talked, and it was 2 days ago, and his child didn't, let's say they got cut from the team or didn't make the team, right? Like, and it meant everything to this child. I'm talking about like day and night just dreaming about it, and they got cut, and they sent, the information to my friend, basically telling him like, yo, your kid didn't make it. So he had to break the news to his child that, and this, you talking about, this child is, 12 years old. And I was like, bruh, I couldn't have done it. I was like, yo, I'm talking about, I'd have been up at the school, like, what kind of donation do I need to make? But then, like, what you're saying is so real, because it's like, yo, if you do that, like, yo, you messing up, like, the natural order of the world. Like, that was supposed to happen so that child could grow a layer of, armor, and, like, we've all had those disappointments, and it's like, yo, I think our tendency as a parent is to shield our children from disappointment when it's the disappointment that's going to have that child
that's going to help you
going forward. But as a parent, I think we have that natural inclination to protect them from, that storm. You know what I mean? So I feel you 100%.
Yeah, and I just think
you
because
got
y'all
kids
don't
that
go
grow
through
up and they soft as, all get out.
Yeah, I'm just saying, y'all got this like, this generation is so like, I don't think there's nothing wrong with sending Trey to a good school in a good neighborhood, whatever. I think the challenge though becomes like, it's almost like this generation doesn't want kids to experience, like you look at the helmets, and again, I ain't mad at nobody, but the knee pad, the helmet boys, I'm like, yo, did our parents just hate us? We was riding our bike in a city. We was in Detroit, Michigan, riding that joke around with no helmet, no nothing. Nobody died. Nobody died. You know what I'm saying? Now it's like they can't.
Oh my God.
They almost gotta wear a helmet to go to school now.
No, bro. Trey, no. I literally had to buy. Candace made me buy him. Now he got a helmet. We got a new bike for him the other day. He trying to learn without the training wheels. Bruh, Candace made me buy wrist pads, elbow pads, and knee pads. And he had the nerve to act like he was scared to fall off the bike. I said, son, you ain't gonna do nothing but bounce right back up on the bike.
That's all you're gonna do with all that.
I'm talking about he looked like the Terminator. Yeah, he looked like the Terminator.
For real, to ride a bike.
Lord have mercy.
Yeah. And I'm saying,
we didn't have helmets. I promise you I never wore a helmet in my life riding a bike. I used to be wheeling through the middle of the street.
To the street.
Hey, Jordan, the only kid, he's the only kid in there. I just didn't do it. I got a helmet for him because Tamisha said something about it, but he don't like it. He don't wear it. I'm like, I don't care if you wear it or not, dude. Like, seriously, I grew up riding a bike without nothing.
And they don't go nowhere.
In Barbados on Rocky rocky terrain.
And
on
they don't
rocky.
go
I'm just
nowhere,
saying,
Carl.
he don't go nowhere. You in a doggone subdivision with a
That's
cul-de-sac.
it.
You know what
That's
I'm saying?
it.
Like,
they ain't going
you
nowhere.
gonna get cut. That's
you was
it.
going miles on the island. It was,
Miles,
you was going
bruh,
miles
for
on the
real.
island. So that's
Yeah.
my only challenge that I just want our parents to be cautious of. It's
Hey,
like,
man, when you know better, you do better, man.
Yeah.
My mom said back in the day, they ain't had no car seats. They just used to hop in the ride. So you had a little
no
8-month-old, you
questions
just put a seatbelt on them and ride
yeah,
out.
yeah. But I just want to know. People probably drove better then too. I don't know. I
Well,
can say
and people,
Right.
people,
That's
people
real.
was smoking cigarettes on airplanes back then.
Yeah.
So when you know better, you do better.
you're right.
So
And
some
I'm
of
sure
that,
somebody
I'm
gonna be
glad
mad.
it has evolved.
Yeah, and I'm sure somebody gonna be mad because I said didn't wear a helmet. But the bigger piece for me is just like, yo, I see so many
Kids, if you out there, we're not advocating you not.
Yeah, we're
wearing a
not
helmet.
advocating
not at all.
that.
Thomas
Right.
is a helmet.
Yeah, not at
lover.
all. Yeah,
You
what I
hate
am-
cows and helmets now? E?
Yeah, no. What I am advocating though is this. See, the meltdowns that I see kids having these days
Yeah,
over
yeah. Off simple
little
stuff.
stuff, bro. It's just
Off
like
some simple
yeah,
stuff.
It's just like
That's
yo,
right.
they
Oh,
having
man.
meltdowns,
Yeah.
bro. So I'm not tripping on no helmet. I'm just saying though, what can we do to create a world where it's not like these kids are emotionally fragile, bro. Like I said, they
Because we're
shooting up
paying off
schools.
their teachers to give them good grades.
Yeah,
Make sure they don't. Make sure they make the team.
They're just fragile.
that's so real.
That's all.
That's
That's all
so
I'm saying.
real.
They're just fragile,
Yeah.
and I just
So-
want to see
so-
them strong. That's all I'm saying.
It lends to where the world is now. Like, for real, people can't handle stuff, which is why you got all this crazy stuff happening. Like, you react to it in this crazy way. No, that's real. E.
Yeah, they about to kill themselves
Wow.
because, and maybe see, I messed up in school, so I don't take it as serious as I need to. But there are kids calling me, bro, about to die because they failed a test. I'm like, yo, it's not the end of the world, believe it or not. The fact that you're not going to be a
Believe it or
lawyer.
not.
I have to tell kids, look, you're going a traditional route of being a lawyer. Do you know how many people can fail in the bar exam and turn it into another career? No, watch this. I've had a conversation with somebody and I'm like, yo, this is what I don't get. You didn't have, there are people who didn't have the success that they wanted to have academically in terms of these, tests or whatever. But I'm like, yo, you making more money than the person that passed the boards. You making more money than they making. You have a better career, if you will.
prestige.
But
prestige.
but that's what I'm talking about right there. See, it's like people are having mental breakdowns because what society feels is successful, you didn't reach that. But in essence, you may be equally or greater
Let me
greater
tell you
successful.
something. I have learned in my 35 years on this earth that everything is so relative, man.
Yeah,
It really is.
yeah,
Like, yo,
yeah.
check this out. So we got a business venture that we working on or whatever. So we went and looked at this property, right? And so the property was like $3 million, right? It was right around $3 million, I think. So anyway, we go to the property, right? And there's a couple of us there and we checking beautiful property. Beautiful. The owner of the property is there. So he's there, he's showing us around, and as he's talking, he says to us, oh yeah, no, I never actually lived here. I just bought this house for my family to hang out. And when they come in, we have game night. They can stay here for a couple of nights and get out. So this house has never actually been lived in full time. Mind you, it's a $3 million house. I'm like, whoa. 10 minutes later, my man says, oh yeah, because some of these like really affluent guys, and I'm not one of those guys. I'm not like one of those big time affluent guys who just got a lot of money. I was like, whoa. Like I heard him say it and I was like, yo, did my man just say, hold on, because I'm panhandling then if that's the case. Hold up.
No question.
And so, no, my man says, no, I'm not one of those guys. And so I'm listening. I'm like, yo, is my man trying to be like funny or like, you know what I'm saying? Like he's saying he not one of those guys. You just told me you bought a $3 million house for your family to come have game night in. But then later on, he says who one of his good friends is, and it's an NFL owner. And so in his mind, he looking like, let's say he worth $50 million. He's friends with billionaires. So in his mind, he going, oh, I'm not even that deep. And I'm like, wow. I literally was just like, yo, wow, my man bought a $3 million house for game night and does not see himself as affluent because of who he's around. And I think, like I said, I just learned in my life, it's just like, yo, there probably is some people who looking at us like, yo, I probably should give Trey and Jordan some of my toys. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, they ain't even got no motor powered, scooter that flies through the air. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's relative.
wow.
And I think, here's somebody said it like this. Is somebody always gonna have more than you? Somebody always gonna have less than you? Enjoy what you got, and even for me, I ain't gonna lie, I felt a little sting when my man said he bought the $3 million house for game night and never lived in it, and then didn't consider himself affluent. I'm like, whoa, here you are, halfway feeling, you know what I'm saying? Like, for 1 minute, I was like, yo, like, dang, like, I got to step my game up, or, not comparing or whatever, but I'm just like, yo, here's a dude who, a little older than me, but still, like, this is his, this is what he did for his family, and he still don't even see it as that deep. So anyway, that was, I think.
So can I say this though? See, I will say this though. I want to say, especially because a lot of you who are listening to us are probably, considered working class, either high, low, whatever. I do want to say this to you, that there is a world out there that you may have been exposed to, but maybe have it aggressively, taken advantage of, or maybe there's not, but that there's another world that exists. Man, I'm telling you guys for real, everything I love, the reason why I talk about, this balance with my kids, I'm trying to teach my children, because anything can happen to me on any given day. I'm trying to teach my son the importance of not having a worker's mentality. I'm really trying to teach my son, like, hey, I need you to go and get it. And my son is privileged in that he did go to Michigan State, did work for the program, and so he does have multiple friends who are in the NBA. And I try to explain to him that there's a way for you to enjoy that lifestyle without playing. There's a way for you to be a millionaire, and the way that you do it is legitimately finding, that gift, that thing that you do, and turning that into an industry. Same thing with my daughter. It's like, nope, there's nothing wrong with going to work for people. I talked about it last night. Before you do anything, you have to do the necessary. So go for the necessary. You don't have to make necessary your life, but go for it. And so I do really want to encourage you guys. So when I talk about, my son not having an emotional breakdown, I just mean, like, yo, son, life is going to happen. There are going to be just as many disappointments, guys, probably more disappointments than there are whatever. I just found out, my wife had, her doctor was like, okay, I need you to go get this test. Went to go get a test. And we like, okay, believe in the best, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, shoot, now you gotta go take another test. Okay, cool. Then my daughter's having her own, health issues, and had them for some time, but it's like, okay, it's minor, not major, minor, but now it's like, okay, it's progressing, so it's like, yo, it's always something. But what I try to teach my wife is like, yo, when the doctor sent you this report, like, yo, don't make it something that it's not. Like, have control of your mind. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't make it the worst diagnosis because they told you gotta go get one more test. Like, don't do that. Let's enjoy the day. You're gonna take the test. Let's see what it said. With Jada, all right, let's go run another test. Let's see what they say. Okay, we gotta change the diet again. If we gotta do this again, like, but we're not going to allow it to go, okay, Dad, since I've been 14, 15, I can't live the average life of a normal teenage girl. I got this problem. I got to do this. I got to do that. And I'm like, yeah, but you also live like some 14-year-olds don't live. You have your own room. You're going to college. You taking spring breaks. You taking summer breaks. You know what I'm saying? So no, you're right. Your life hasn't necessarily been just strict ease. You do have a mom with a chronic illness, but there's so many other things that can happen. What I need you to do is I need you to be emotionally sound, emotionally strong. I need you to make good decisions. You know what I'm saying? I need you to go after whatever you could possibly go after. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to say to those of you who are listening, when C said, like, yo, somebody may have more than you, somebody may have less. Absolutely. Take the hand that you've been dealt. I'm talking about, man, take that thing and play it to the best of your ability, but also keep learning about the game that you're playing. Don't just take the.
I was gonna say, remember this line. I saw a quote this week that just said, "Wherever you are now," like just adding on to what you just said. Wherever you are right now, you actually prayed to be here.
Yeah.
Like, you actually prayed to be here. Like, just think back 5 years, where you were then, and you were praying to get a better car.
Yeah.
That's the car you actually got now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but you're still looking at something else. Go ahead, see my bad.
Yeah, no, you're good. I just wanted, while y'all here, I just wanted to play for y'all something. Shout out to Pastor Furtick. But I heard a message from him the other day. I think it kind of hits, and I'll play it real quick so y'all can hear it. But it just kind of breaks down what we're talking about.
There are no glory days. Yeah. There were problems then. When you arrive at the next place you want to be, there's going to be problems there. You have to learn how to have the boldness right here and now to face life head on and look it in the eyes, the challenges of this season and the blessings of the same.
You know what I'm saying? My man was like, bro, it ain't no glory days. You know what I'm saying? Like, get that out your head. That, like, one of these days is just going to be no issues. Like, it's problems in this season, it's problems in next season. It's like, yo, you got to enjoy the here and now. So, yeah.
Hey, when Didi got the little whatever, they had her go do, and, and I'm ignorant. I thought an ultrasound was just, related to kids. I didn't know, it's a grander procedure, but, she went to do that procedure. Of course, they gave her some, they gave us the update on it, and so Didi was kind of like, at that moment where she had to just go, all right, let me decide how I'm going to spend the rest of the day after the news. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes in life you get news at 8 o'clock in the morning, noon, at, in the evening, whatever. But it was a situation where, and I was proud of her because I'm usually more that person and I have to tell her that. So she's picking up some stuff for me, I'm picking up some stuff for her. But what I said to her was, and, Angela Brown, y'all know Angela. Angela's been to a couple of our, sessions or whatever. Yeah, so Angela's son's probably a little older than Jalen. He might be late 20s, I'm thinking, early 30s at best, but I'm thinking late 20s. But anyway, he had maybe some form of cancer, could have been colon cancer, whatever, and he passed a couple of days ago. And I told Didi, I said, Didi, while definitely we're not looking at the news and all, and doing backflips and geeked about it, but I was like, yo, praise God. You know what I'm saying? We're praying for Angela right now, and we'll support her however we can. And imagine a mother, like that's never supposed to happen, that a mother loses their child, And so I was just saying like, yo, let's put our energy on her. Let's pray for her. Unfortunately, I didn't call her. Like, I'm one of them dudes, man, like, for real. I just got it bad. I just know everybody calling. And I just know if Jalen or something happened to Jada, I'm just going to be real. I don't want to do a bunch of talking. I know I'm a talker, but I don't want to do a bunch of talking. Don't call me. I don't need 60, 70 people calling me with their condolences. Like, I really do need to be by myself. You know what I'm saying? I need to make whatever sense I can make of it. And so I didn't reach out to her, but Didi and I was like, okay, this is what we're going to do for her. And, but it put everything in perspective. Jada's little, deficiencies and, what we've got to do for her, it just put everything in light. Like, yo, you got your life, Jada. You know what I'm saying? And I know, for real, illness is definitely an inconvenience. It's just like, there's just certain luxuries you can't enjoy, just certain things that happen to you. Like, it is what it is, But I was like, yo, you got your life, Jada. And one day, hopefully you'll have a family and you'll have a group of people outside of us who can support you in what you're going through. It is what it is. But so I'm just saying, with Angela's situation, even when she put up on YouTube the other day, like, yo, today is his last day. We know that at some point during the day, and loving memories to Buddy was a good kid, and you hate for this to happen to anybody, but it just put the day in perspective. Like, yo, Didi, yep, Jada, I feel y'all, but we got each other. We're alive, and prayerfully we'll get through this one and come up with a plan for this, just like we come up with a plan for everything else. But we can't let it break us.
Let me explain something to y'all, man, and let me just, like, for real, and, every once in a while I feel the need to do this, but, the reason, you guys are listening to the reason why, I will forever roll with E and be down with E, because, man, y'all see him, and he's Superman. He really is. And you thinking it's because things are going so well. It's easy to look at somebody like E you know, and go, oh, okay, yeah, he on fire. He waking up at 3 a.m. He got these videos. He pumped up. He energetic. I see him. He smiling. He speaks to everybody, taking pictures. Da 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 da. Like, and you would almost think he doesn't have the same issues you got.
Life. Yeah.
You know, and as he's talking, I'm just like, yep. I hope they hearing it. Like, yo, he just said the 2 women that's closest to him in his life going through it with some stuff. And you will not see him bat one single eye. He continues to go at that pace and continues to live what he says he lives. Like, yo, I hope people, I just hope the listeners, Carl, can respect the faith that he has. You know, I mean, he ain't called me not one day and been like, yo, can you pray for me, bro? I'm going through. Like, yo, like, he really believes what he talks about. And I hope, you know, I hope you guys can really appreciate the transparency. That's one of the things I think people love most. And I know you guys do, but I know listeners and, you know, people out there, man, that's one of the things that they appreciate most about you is the ability to be transparent. Because sometimes we see these people and maybe self-help people and they talk and they seem like they got everything together and there's no issues and there's no problems. They never talk about their marriage, you know, maybe rough spots or health or anything of those nature. And you just, you know, you bring that stuff up, man, and it's helpful for me. Like, yo, what are you complaining about? You know, and so I know everybody out there appreciates it. But like I said, I just wanted to stop and tell the listeners, like, yo, when you see me at a conference and you're like, yo, why did you just choose to rock with? It's like, yo, it's this kind of stuff right here. I've seen his name slandered. I've seen people try to take him down. I mean, all kind of stuff. And, you know, I just appreciate you, bro, for standing tall all the time and just being an example.
No other options, bro. No other options.
You know, you're one of the greatest humans to walk planet Earth. So, Carl, why don't you tell us about a couple of our sponsors, man? No crazy transition. We in a pretty serious podcast. I didn't know it was gonna go this way. Hopefully, you know, the listeners who enjoy my comedy will get back to it.
Yeah, next week. It's always next week.
But no, and it was just an organic conversation. We didn't even have a conversation about what we were going to talk about. I just you know, hopefully y'all got something out of that conversation. We got Ask ET coming in a second, but let's really shout out our sponsors, man, and really shout out our one of our newer sponsors, man, who just been rocking. Why don't you do them, and I'll do Organifi, and we'll get to Ask ET.
Yeah, no, and this one actually goes kind of along some of the lines that we're talking about. This segment is brought to you by Health IQ. Health IQ is a life insurance agency that uses science and data to secure lower rates on health insurance for health-conscious people, including runners, cyclists, strength trainers, vegans, and more. Research has shown that runners who persist in running over an average of 5.9 years have a 29% lower risk of mortality and a 50% lower risk of death from heart disease. So keep running. Keep that running, E. Yeah, no, seriously. So the great news is that 56% of Health IQ.
He gonna get $1 million policy free
right now. Right now,
that's
all
big.
that running
I didn't
you're
know
doing.
that.
Yeah, no, it's real. So that's why I said this one is huge. So the great news is that 56% of Health IQ customers save between 4 and 33% on their insurance, and these savings are exclusive to Health IQ. So Health IQ can save customers up to 33% because here's just a couple of statistics. Physically active people have a 56% lower risk of heart disease, a 20% lower risk of cancer, and a 58% lower risk of diabetes compared to people who are inactive. So their strategy is a little different than your typical life insurance. It's like literally compared to like how you save money on your car insurance for being a good driver. Right. Health IQ saves you money on your life insurance for living a health conscious lifestyle. So just let me get this out and we could talk about it a little bit. But learn more and get a free quote at healthiq.com. It's healthiq.com/success to qualify. To see if you qualify, get your free quote today at healthiq.com/success, or just make sure you mention the promo code success when you talk to one of the Health IQ agents. So yeah, when I saw this as a sponsor, I was like, oh, I love it. Yeah. It's in line with what we do.
What about the Cinnabon boy? I need to get that one. I need to get that one.
And I do think it's important. Let me just speak to the fact that, you know, I have health insurance now, and this is a big thing, guys. I mean life insurance, sorry. This is a huge deal. Like, seriously, you heard, you know, all the things we talk about in terms of people and what goes on and the unfortunate things that happen, man. And I want my family to be taken care of. This is never easy a subject to broach, right? Nobody wants to talk about dying and death and all of that. And, you know, I just think that this program is amazing because if you've done a great job taking care of yourself, which I know we have a lot of physical fitness people out there that listen to us. We got a lot of runners, cyclists. We got vegans. We got people who, live, have a great diet and really take care of themselves. And you heard the statistics. So Health IQ is basically just betting on the fact that you're going to live a long, productive life. So they're like, hey, we don't need to, you don't need to pay this insane premium or any of this stuff if you're taking care of yourself. We believe that you're going to be around for a long time and you should be benefited from that. And so you should actually be paying less money and being rewarded for being diligent with your health.
Because you putting the work in.
Yeah, absolutely. You put the work in. So healthiq.com/success and check it out. Get a free quote. They'll ask you about your diet, your exercise, things like that. And save some money on life insurance, man, and set your family up for the long run. Y'all quit playing with it, man. You out there, you've been listening, you've been thinking about life insurance. I have life insurance. I got on it. Carl just finished his up not that long ago. And Health IQ can help you too, man. So healthiq.com/success.
Let's talk about that next week. See, for real. Let's talk. Let's like kind of delve into that, because I remember being on the prayer line, and the guys are a lot younger than I am, a lot of them, and I remember them starting a push-up challenge, and I'm looking now, 3 years later, and then TJ would have conversations with me in terms of the difference between holding 200 pounds of fat, on your body versus 200 pounds of muscle on your body, and it kind of seems like, Carl, 200 is 200, but there's some things that I've
about
been
100 of each.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, it depends. I mean, here's the part though, and I want to talk about this next week, because one of the things I've learned with Dee, is it's like a car, bro. If you like, for real, like, you ever notice when, like, okay, let's say you have something that goes wrong with your car and you don't take care of it, and then before you know it, it was like, okay, it was that one thing, and then now it's like, shoot, it was the brakes, now it's the rotors, now it's other parts of, the brakes or whatever. So with Dee, what I'm noticing is that once you get a chronic illness, you have to be cautious, because it's not, how do I say it? The body is less prone to want to run and do things like that. It's like, even for me, when I got this cold, I probably went 5 days without running or walking. And it wasn't that I didn't want to run or walk, but I'm just telling you, I don't know what happened, but like, my appetite was different. I didn't really crave, I didn't want to eat, like the foods that I normally would have a desire for. I didn't have a desire for foods. I didn't have a desire for running, walking. I had a desire to be doing push-ups, pull-ups. And I'm a dude that, like, for real, I'm pretty wired. Like, once I do something, like, that's what I want to do. And I didn't have a desire to do it, And so I want to kind of talk about with Dee, like, she has to be cautious, because once you get a chronic illness, like, you lose your appetite for certain things. And then what happens is you get that illness and you have that for a long period of time, and it triggers something else. You know what I'm saying? So it's almost like when people get cancer, it may start in one area, but before you know it, once it's introduced to the body, it becomes that much easier for it to spread, if that makes sense. So I kind of want to talk about the health thing, because the health thing is one of those things where it's like, oh, I'm in my 20s, I'm good. Oh, I'm in my 30s. Oh, I need to start.
Not no more.
I'm in my 40s now. And it's like, it ain't as hard to run 5 miles. It's not, let me say this. I don't want to say hard to run, because it's not this. That's not the truth. What I should say is your appetite decreases for stuff that you're not doing. So the older you get, if you eating Cinnabons for real, and you eating fried chicken and macaroni and cheese, it's just that much easier to keep eating like that, than it is just to quit at 45 and say, I want to live a healthier lifestyle. So I don't know. I know, you come up with the subjects, but next week, if we could get in an emergency, let's turn this thing around, guys. I'd like to start talking about little things that we can start doing, to start turning stuff around.
As long as you don't try to make me go vegan, I'm good.
I promise not to go that. Extremes are never good. Extremes never make a person stay with something, so I won't do that.
This weekend, Jamie asked us a question at church. Jamie asked, we did a little separation thing where the man went downstairs. We had a little discussion, and Jamie asked, we had a lot of young guys there, so Jamie asked him, like, if you could choose one car that you got, I'm talking about any car, no restrictions on it, rest of your life, this is the car you have to have the rest of your life. Like, what car would it be? So, they're going around and everybody's shy at first. Like, I don't know, I need something big that can carry my family. Jamie was like, look, y'all playing. Let me just get to the point. The point is that's your body.
Yeah.
Like, you got the firest car that has ever been made, but you only got one for the rest of your life. Like, you got one. So I ain't mean to start next week up, but just bear that in mind. You only got one.
Come back, y'all, next week. Yeah, let's really talk about this. And let's fix that. A lot of us got check engine lights on. Let's talk about that check engine light and see what we could do to put ourselves in premium health so we can get these discounts, Carl, on this health,
Absolutely.
this life insurance. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, so take back over.
Also, I wasn't finished now. Let me get to Organifi, man. They are old, bae. You know what I'm saying? He's trying to take. We got to make sure we show them some love too, man. Organifi.com, promo code success, man. You guys heard us talk about it all the time. Shout out to them, Carl. They just sent me the gold, a package of the gold.
I ain't get it yet. How's the gold?
Oh man, it's insane. I love it. It tastes great.
What it tastes like? Is it citrus?
A little citrusy. The other one is a little bit more mint. The green one that I've been rocking with forever, but the gold's got a little different flavor to it, man. So we started on that. Candace and I started on it the other day. Been rocking with it. It's great. Shout out to my boy Evan, who sent me a picture last night. I should send y'all the picture so y'all can see it. He had like 20 water bottles lined up with like the little funnel, and he was just shaking them in there. He sent me a text and said he was in the lab with it. Really going in, man, noticing a huge difference in his body and his energy level. He said he's back in the gym thanks to the Organifi and, really just, using that to propel his health. So, again, do me a favor. Drink the Organifi and then call Health IQ. You know what I'm saying?
There it is.
And
there
boom.
it is. Yep.
An explosive combination. But
no,
in all seriousness, man, you guys, this is how we, make this podcast go with our sponsors, right? And we only try to bring you sponsors who we really rock with, who we believe in, who we use ourselves. And Organifi is another one of those brands, man, that we really believe in, that we rock with, that we use every day. For those of you who see me at the conferences, they always run up to me. It's like, is that Organifi? And I'm like, absolutely. Carl pulled out some packets behind his back. And I think we're going to actually hopefully have some samples at the next city we go to.
I'm working on it.
Yeah, they're going to send us a bunch of them, man. But for you right now, man, you can get a big discount just by telling them we sent you. Use the promo code SUCCESS, Organifi.com, ORGANIFI.com, and tell them that we sent you by using the promo code SUCCESS, man. We appreciate you guys supporting this podcast. We're going to do our best every week to show up and give you some great content, man. And if you could help us out and you need one of these products, man, go use the promo code. It does help us out greatly. And with that being said, let's get a couple questions out the way so we can be done with this. Hannah in Toronto said, who is the most surprising artist in your regular music playlist?
Wow, surprising.
Yeah,
Well,
who would you be listening to that? Probably, I know Pink or something like that.
Oh, Pink is my Pink, U2, Coldplay. Yeah, that's my no questions.
Maroon 5.
Yeah, Maroon 5, no questions.
Maroon 5.
I wouldn't think they would be. Yeah, I wouldn't think that would be a. Okay, let me say this, because this is a younger group. So they probably wouldn't know the Manhattan Transfers, but that's like something that's in my, you know what I'm saying? That's in my repertoire from,
When music was music.
Yeah, I listen to that every night and then, like Carl said, when I'm fiending like for the whole band, the sounds, everything. So that's probably, for a lot of younger kids, would be like, Manhattan Transfers, who's that? But yeah, definitely in my hookup.
Hey, I'd say my weirdest, and I can't tell you a name of an artist like that because I ain't in it like that. But I'm saying whenever I get these cloudy days, for some reason, I just like to hear classical music. And it's a weird little thing. Like, I ain't no lover of classical music like that, but it just kind of fit the mood for me. So like once you get like I'm talking about like a hardcore stormy day, like I just pop some kind of like, I'll go to like Pandora, Spotify, one of them, and just find like classical music. So that's one of the ones that I think that, stands out a little bit. But yeah, everything else is fair game, man, pretty much.
Me and Carl, you know what I'm saying? I was going to say Uncle Luke. Don't stop. Some old school Florida Uncle Luke. I was thinking about the classical.
Don't Google that, babies. Don't Google that,
babies. Please don't Google. I'm sorry. Lord forgive me. No, I don't know if it's surprising, man, but I rock. I like Ed Sheeran. I rock Ed Sheeran pretty often. Love his album. And then surprising. I told y'all, man, I fool, hey, shout out to my half-white side. I fool with a lot of country. I can go with some Sam Hunt and which is like my cousins who like really in the country, like, yo, Sam Hunt and them, they not country. Stop saying they country. They like pop country. You know what I'm saying? But I can handle like a little pop country. You know what I'm saying? That be pretty dope. So next question comes from Vincent in Tampa. Said, hey guys, love the podcast, regular listener. Have you ever had an idea for an invention? I've had a ton of them.
Yeah, we did that was a BU call where we talked about that, where CJ made me feel bad about mine because it didn't come to fruition.
What was that?
Yeah, no, a bunch of them. I had this little weird idea, like potty training. Of course, we got the kids, and my son was into like the whole Thomas the Train thing. They're probably gonna hear this podcast and take it and use it. But hey, I ain't do it, so it's on me. But I thought about, the whole thing with Thomas is this funnel and the noise that it makes, or, the steam coming out. So I thought about like, on a potty training thing, I wonder if there's something that you can do to, make the toilet just make a noise, or even steam or something to make, a little man interested in going to the bathroom. You know what I'm saying? Like, because, like now, I'm like, I want to go see that.
Steamy mess.
So, it never went anywhere. But I'm saying either the sound or the steam or a combination of the two. But, some little mask you could put over the toilet so it looked like the train kind of thing. Yep. That would have killed it for little man. He'd have been in the bathroom at like 6 months, or he'd have been on his own. But, nothing.
Somebody beat me to mine, bro. Somebody beat me to mine. Curbside carryout. Somebody beat me to it.
And you use it now.
Yeah, now I use it. That was my invention. You know what I'm saying? You just pull up to the restaurant. You ain't even got to get out. They bring your food right to you.
I had one yesterday in mind. So my kids are disgusting when they eat at the table, and there's like on the floor, it's always like, Cheerios, and I'm talking about they're embedded into the hardwoods. Like you got to get down on your hands and knees and scrape these jokers off. And I was like, man, so I'm trying to sweep. So imagine, Carl, like I come back after I get home, or maybe, the kids eat in the morning, take them to school, go to the gym, come back, get to work. Then like before the end of the day, I'll sweep up. But the Cheerios are stuck. So I'm literally sweeping over rows of Cheerios that will not move. So I got to get down and scrape them off. And I was like, yo, I need a broom that can be like a chipper, like the ice chipper y'all had to use to get the ice off your car this morning, and then you use the other side to brush it away. I'm like, yo, why don't brooms have a little side where you could flip it and then just a little scrapey scrape and then right into the dustpan? So I want to invent that. So if you're out there and interested in collabing on my idea and hitting Shark Tank, see if Mark Cuban give us $100 million, email me. And shout out to everybody who emails us, man. You guys are awesome, man. I know we read the negative comments, but man, we get a ton of emails from people who comment on the discussion. And trust me, man, I need to start reading some of the feedback, not positive feedback or whatever, but just the commentary that you guys have. I think one of the unique things about this podcast is that, when I, meet people at conferences, or I see you out and, just the world somewhere, you always come up to me, man, and say, I felt like I was right there with you guys. I wanted to jump in the conversation. I wanted to say something, and I think that's the biggest compliment we could get. We're here. We're not perfect, but we're just trying to, have these conversations. These are authentic conversation, guys. We don't have a meeting before this podcast. We don't sit down and ask, what do you want to talk about? I usually just generally have an idea of something that happened in my daily routine and bring it to the guys and get their thoughts on it. And so the fact that you guys really support us and rock with us, it means the world to us, man. And we enjoy getting all your feedback. Carl, where can they email?
Just info@etinspires.com. Info@etinspires.com, and whatever
and
feedback,
to
man.
Who you want to have it, and our team will shoot
Right.
it to the correct person, man. But you guys really are awesome, man. We appreciate you guys listening. I gotta go, y'all, because I got stuff to do. But
I just looked at it. I felt like we've been on here long,
Bro,
but we still within our regular
like, you okay?
time.
I'm like, what you mean am I okay? She's like, is that
It
a
felt
2-hour
long.
podcast? I'm like, no,
Yeah,
we
it just
started
felt
late.
real
it
long.
felt long because he was trying to find his recording equipment for the first 30
The first
minutes.
15 minutes, right.
That's what made it long.
I was sitting here listening to Jeopardy music waiting to get going. And the hip-hop preacher, he ain't been home in so long. I'm like, why do you even still pay a mortgetge? You be better off just getting a hotel when you come to Lance.
What the dude said, the $3 million dude, what he said, like he just have it to come home and preach. I have it for the Success Series and to preach.
Oh, okay. I need to step my game up. My house is for full-time living. You know what I'm saying? Now, let me find out you got an insider at Saddlebrook. And
at
we
the
really
house,
You know what I'm saying? We really going to have. Oh, I think I got an insider, though. Shout out to Frenchie. I saw that email come through. Yeah. Somebody said, anytime you in my city, I'm going to pick you up from the airport. You do not have to catch the death shuttle. And so, shout out to Frenchie. I got my first insider driver. And also shout out to I'll wait on that one because I want to see. I don't want to just throw it out there if y'all not trying to be a sponsor. But I got an email from somebody who said they could help us out with our transportation as well. But I'll hit him up on the side and see if he really about that life or he just talking. You know what I'm saying? You just talking or you serious? So I hit him up. But know if y'all hear a rideshare sponsor in the next few weeks, I went out and hunted that one down. So,
yes, sir.
Yeah, no. I forgot to ask y'all. I probably should have. Everybody, Easter was good. Sorry.
Oh yeah, just family, just relax. Just relax, man. Yeah. We had a huge. Oh yeah, he was sick.
I was in the bed.
In the bed. Yeah, we had a huge Easter egg hunt over here. Like always, and then we got to throw away all the candy because we got.
No doubt, it's too much.
Goodness. And Avery, she like spaz every time she see the Easter basket. Candace looked at me last night. And was like, when I come home from work tomorrow, any trace of egg, Easter, it better be gone. Because Avery just be chilling and she see that joint out the corner of her eye and it's on. So, real quick, E, and you could do the nugget of the day, or I could do this. Picture I took. I told you I wanted to read mine as well.
Yeah, read that. See, read it. I'm interested in hearing it.
Yeah, so it said, and I just randomly came across this, and it said, so what's the difference between growth and our typical idea of perfection? Perfectionism is all or nothing. Growth is little by little. Perfectionism is about the goal. Growth is about the journey. Perfectionism is about the outward appearance. Growth is about what happens on the inside. Perfectionism is about what we do. Growth is about who we are becoming. So I read that and it stuck with me. So I thought share it with y'all. And you reminded me to share it on the podcast. So listen, man, go check out healthiq.com. Use the promo code SUCCESS. Go to Organifi.com. Use the promo code SUCCESS. If you could jump on iTunes, leave us a review. Let us know what you think of the podcast. And even my people who, you leave a negative review, I still love you because I know you listening. I know you somewhere down there, you just listening, and every time I say Trey, it just burns your soul because you're like, why can't I hear E.T.? But we love you too.
We love you.
Just give us a quick nugget of the day, man. Let us get on about our business. Oh, and man, I almost forgot. Sorry, man. Matter of fact, let's do this, E. If you don't mind, let's give Dr. King the nugget of the day.
Yes, 50 years.
50 years. We talked about it. He and I have been talking about it this morning, but definitely didn't want the podcast to go by. 50 years since Dr. King was unfortunately assassinated. Man, one of my heroes of all time. Every time you hear his voice, man, you just get chills. And it's been 50 years to the day. We're recording this on Wednesday, and yeah, man, we just want to show our appreciation for Dr. King, and actually, maybe this podcast turns out to be pretty apropos based on some of the discussions we've had. So, Dr. King is going to take us away, man, in loving memory, and we appreciate y'all listening. We'll see you next week.
All we say to America is be true to what you said on paper. If I lived in China or even Russia or any totalitarian country, maybe I could understand some of these illegal injunctions. Maybe I could understand the denial of certain basic First Amendment privileges because they haven't committed themselves to that over there. But somewhere I read of the freedom of assembly. Somewhere I read of the freedom of speech. Somewhere I read of the freedom of press. Somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest far right. And so just as I say we aren't going to let any dogs or water hoses turn us around, we aren't going to let any injunction turn us around. Well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead. But it really doesn't matter with me now, because I've been to the mountaintop. I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
I want you to focus on here right now. Don't you worry about when you get home. You concentrate on this opportunity. You don't worry about tomorrow. You concentrate on this opportunity with all your might, with all your soul.